My name is Andrew Mullane. I work for Victor Guitar, Colorado School of Lutherie, Mullane and Miller Historical Restoration, and under my own business name, A. Mullane Lutherie.
I've watched a million videos about changing guitar strings, and I'm still bad at it. You can see how bad I am at it by how I did it. I think I'm making it too hard for myself.
Mm-hmm.
So can you walk us through how to change strings and let me know how bad I'm doing?
Yeah, well, but maybe let's start with the tools that you brought.
Okay, thank you.
So initially, let's bypass these. These are for turning nuts and bolts.
Okay.
So not going to be useful on the guitar itself.
Okay.
Additional to that, we have like a little string winder, which is helpful to have, and a little string clipper. So I would keep that in your pouch.
Okay.
I would keep your tuner around. I would say one thing that I have noticed with the it's a good thing this is a battery one. I have noticed like the new rechargeable Snark tuners are less accurate than the battery ones for some reason.
Really?
So yeah, maybe just something to mention. No qualms with Snark, but
okay.
Like these are good tuners, but I like that you have a battery one. So that's my comment on that.
Okay.
This is a capo, so that's going to be for playing. These are great, man. I actually have a couple of these for, especially for tightening tuners. Like I'll use this for checking tuners.
I've scratched the neck on a Gibson, like the headstock, using that. So maybe put a towel down?
Yeah, so the only thing is like you gotta make sure that you stay flat on it,
okay.
And you don't want to fall off. So just that single ridge right in here, if you can see,
in there.
Is what's going to be grabbing the bolt on the top there. And so if you slip, you can bite the corner off a little bit.
Okay.
But as long as you're keeping flat as you're turning, and I can actually show you how I would use this.
Awesome.
Sometimes come around this side.
Yeah, we'll come around here.
Maybe back to the camera.
Yeah, that looks great.
So I'll go up flat. I wait till it grabs, and then I can tighten your tuner down like that. That's all you need to use for it. So it alleviates having a bunch of different size wrenches like this. So you can use this for. So it's kind of like having 10 of these.
Great. Yeah, I'm cheap, so that's perfect. That's
no, I like it. I like it. So it's quick to grab. It's helpful. And then I think the last thing you brought by, hang these back up.
Because that's, I think, the most vexing thing for working on guitars is like figuring out if a neck's straight. Like I look down the back of the neck, I look up the neck, I look around, and I'm like, I think it's bowing this way, maybe.
Yeah, and I'll show you how I check that.
Awesome.
So, I mean, that's kind of the idea with this, is checking the shape of your neck. The reason why this could be a little bit overkill or unnecessary is because different guitars have different scale lengths. So this is a short scale guitar. There's other guitars that are longer scale. So if I need to check the shape of the neck and I want to alleviate the frets, I have to have several versions of the same tool that match the scale of whatever I'm working on. Yeah, no, of course. So even if I line this one up right now, we're hidden on the tops of the frets, so this isn't going to work.
Okay.
And if I go to the other side, so it notches up. One of the things I would do in terms of commenting on this is that the frets, as long as they're installed properly, are reflecting the shape of the neck itself and the fingerboard. So how I normally will check things in here, you saw me initially, like when I took your guitar, I was looking down the neck this way.
You do the eyeball.
If you don't have I equate a lot of lutherie skill to, in the same way musicians have ear training, luthiers have eye training.
Okay.
So I would say to an untrained eye looking down a neck this way, unless it's really screwed up, it's really hard to notice certain imperfections that way.
Really hard for me.
Yeah. One of the things I can do to check the neck and kind of alleviate having to buy several of these to work on instruments is I can use the straight edge as I can use the string as a straight edge.
Okay.
So what I'm doing right here is I'm holding down the string at the 1st fret, I'm holding down a string at the 12th fret, and I'm checking the curvature between the area that the truss rod affects, which is the 1st fret through the 12th fret. So I'm using the string as a straight edge, suspended, and that way I can check the curvature between 1 through 12. This is how I know if I need to check a truss rod or adjust the truss rod. When I'm checking the area that the truss rod affects, I will check the bass side I will check the center of the board, and I'll check the treble side of the board. That also helps me be able to see if there's a twist in the neck.
Okay.
So when people are learning how to do this, what I suggest is getting an industrial true straight edge. So a nice straight edge. And I can put this on the frets right down here. And then what I can use is a feeler gauge. And this will give me the measurement of that gap
Okay.
at the 6th fret to the string, measured in thousandths of an inch. This is one of the few things I measure in inches, actually. I primarily deal in metric,
Okay.
but just for the sake of the feeler gauge. So ideally on your neck is what I'd like to see 5/1000ths of an inch on the bass side and 4/1000ths of an inch on the treble side.
Okay.
Just by the nature of the strings and guitar necks, I typically see a little bit more relief on the treble side than on the bass side. So one of the things you have done good, though, is that the guitar is not cracked or anything. So instruments in Colorado, especially because we're at altitude and high desert climate, dryness will severely will crack and or sink and mess up the whole thing.
Do you have a recommended humidity for the Colorado musician?
I would say 40%.
Okay.
40%. 35 is kind of a red line. So below 35, you start seeing symptoms of dryness.
Thank you. This is huge.
Sinking right here, bellying in the back, and necks come forward. This is a complete opposite effect on an instrument than what happens on the East Coast in more over humid environments, where the necks will back bow and this area of the guitar bellies up. We have about 4/1000ths of an inch on the bass side and 6/1000ths of an inch on the treble side. And then I can show you with the feeler gauge here. See, what I'll do is I will switch to the feeler gauge.
So anyway,
That's showing 6, and I'll show you how that number matches up with the treble side. So actually, when I'm doing this, I'm going to pick up the neck so it's not deflecting. Heavier guitars can deflect the neck a little bit and give me a measurement that I don't want. So I'll lay this on the center of the board, hold this up this way, and I'll come in from the treble side here.
And so you're pushing down with the straight edge on the frets?
Yep.
Okay.
So the straight edge is going right on top. And I have just a little bit of friction right there. And so that's right at 6 thou.
Okay.
So because I wanted 5 and 4, and you have 4 and 6, and he also brought out a capo, so we might be doing some capo playing, I'm going to say that I'm not going to adjust the truss rod on this guitar. So I'm not going to tighten it or loosen it. The neck's relatively straight. You've been taking decent care of this.
I haven't broken it.
Yep. Yep.
Sick.
So first thing we checked is relief. We're going to keep the relief where it's at.
Okay.
And then I'm looking at the area of the neck where the truss rod does not affect. What's really typical is to have this area of the fingerboard ramp up significantly. So when I'm down to an ideal action, the strings end up hitting that area and creating a lot of string buzz. So a lot of times when we're playing, we think string buzz has to do with the fret that we're playing on. Most of the time it's halfway up the neck from wherever you're fretting. So this area tends to be more problematic, and that's also something that we checked. So this area is not going to be a problem, and we need to go a little bit down with the action, so we're not going to take anything off the frets today.
Okay, great.
I did measure your action. We're going to be taking that down a little bit, and then I also, after I check the height of the strings at the nut, I would say that the nut's super important for the pliability of the string. If this is too high, it's going to feel really stiff and uncomfortable for your left hand, as well as this can affect tuning stability stuff. So a lot of times when we have tuning and stability issues, we immediately go to the tuner. Most of the time it has a lot to do with a badly cut nut.
So like break angle on the nut?
Break angle on the nut, depth of the slot, width of the slot. So like if you're hearing pinging when you're stringing it up, most likely the string is catching in the groove of the nut. The strings act like saws, so over time this just wears itself down.
Okay.
And you actually have just a hair of a gap on each string, so we're also going to maintain that.
Great.
Yeah,
Okay.
So I don't need to cut it down or take it up. But a typical thing, we might open up the slot a little bit if I'm tuning it up and I hear a pinging sound, so I don't want the string to be catching in here. We want the string to smoothly move in and out. All right, so let's go ahead and take these strings off. I will show you I also have a string winder. This was made by Frank Ford, who recently passed away. It's a Frank Ford of Griffin Strings. Rest in peace, Frank.
Oh.
And then we'll be taking the strings off. So initially I'm going to unwind, kind of detension them down over here. A lot of times people spell like specialized string pullers.
Okay.
And I can talk about the reason is so most of those are just like little plastic things that grip around the collar of the peg right here, and then you pull straight up. So the issue I have with those is leverage. They're weak and will break, and it's just an unnecessary little weird tool that I don't need. So what I like doing is I have a good pair of pliers here. I also use these clip strings, so these are for metal, and I will use the flat part of my pliers, come over here, so I'll go flat side here, I'll grab, and I'll just grab the collar right there. Notice I'm not marring this up or anything, I'm just grabbing right in that spot. And I'll set these down. Sometimes I also like remembering the order in which I take the pegs out. It can be overkill, most of these are pretty uniform, but by chance somebody has different ones or they're fitting differently.
Maybe I got 5 originals and one replacement.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So what I'll do is I will grab the strings off. So even though we're going to clean up how you string guitars today, one of the things I like about the pros of what you have going right here is that you didn't tie any sort of knots up there. So I'll pop these off. So this is a good chance for me to come up to the headstock and just make sure this is all tight.
Okay. And we're tightening tuners.
Now I'm not wrenching it down too much. While we got the strings off, we can do a couple things actually.
Okay.
So even though I'm not going to do a fret level crown and polish on your guitar, I can do a light polish and a dress of the fingerboard.
And you get some blue tape there that you're taking some of the fuzz off?
Yeah, I'm fuzzing it up actually.
Oh, okay.
So I'm detacking it.
Okay.
So this is a habit that I have on an instrument of this style with this finish. It should be okay to put the full tack on there, but on a vintage instrument, especially where like finish is flaking off or has kind of de-amalgamated, I don't want to be pulling up finish. So I make it as de-sticky as I can, normally using my pants or my shirt, so my roller.
I've heard that all the stickers you're supposed to roll on your carpet, and then when you put them on your guitar, they can come back off without too much goo be gone.
Yeah, that's a good one. Or if you go full stick on, you can use some VMP naphtha. Will get residue off. Yeah. Gotcha. So you had brought this in. This is basically a fingerboard cleaner or a mix of lemon oil and mineral oil, and so we want a non-UV drying lemon oil. Any sort of lemon oil like this is just mixed with a different hodgepodge of stuff mixed in with mineral oil. So there's some scent, there's some mineral oil. It's supposed to clean and rehydrate the fingerboard from drying out. Okay. So if this hat does start to dry out, you're going to start feeling sharp ends of your frets right here.
And any kind of lemon oil?
Non-UV lemon oil is the biggest one. Okay. So typical hardware store lemon oil will have like a UV thing on the side. You don't want that. So the common brand is Old English. So what I'll do here, I don't need to go too crazy on it, but I like kind of wadding up a paper towel into a shape. It's called a fad. So I do French polishing in the shop when you have like a little balled up thing of cloth. It's called a fad. So this is my lemon oil paper towel fad. This kind of spread out.
And that's hydrating my fingerboard and taking any gunk off.
Yeah. But I would say, any sort of solid wood acoustic guitar in Colorado needs to be humidified. Okay. So any end of the spectrum. So, and the nicer you go, the less built like tanks an instrument is. So,
okay, more fragile.
Yep.
Okay. So
it's kind of like the comparison of like a Civic to a Ferrari or something, so. So now I'm just getting all that excess oil off. So what we're going to do over here is I'm going to take this tape off. So this is some polish that we make at the shop here.
Okay. So I can buy that here at the shop?
Yeah. I'll give you a bottle. Man.
No,
we got some
but
sitting around.
commercial.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Income.
we do make our own polish, and I'll just get areas that are hard to clean while the strings are on.
As we've been
While the strings are off.
sitting here listening, all my brain can think about is how bad I need a banjo. And that feels like all your fault.
Everybody needs a banjo.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to have to bring this up in couples therapy next Tuesday, where I talk about why I might need a banjo.
Yeah. No, that it might just turn into solo therapy after that.
There's not a lot of. I think Bella Fleck's the only person married who plays banjo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look at that koa. Yeah, I would say so. Even brand new instruments, all could use a professional setup.
Yeah.
So like the getting something to be easy to play, nice to play, is achievable on any guitar. The amount of work that it takes to get there could lop the value of the instrument, but we can totally make anything as playable
But
and nice and easy on the hand.
the best instrument's the one I want to grab and play, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I found it, more times than not, the instrument that's properly set up and playing nice, feels nice to your hands, can often be more important than your best sounding instrument.
Well, what are you going to do? What's your target?
We're going to go to the back here. So when you came in today, your action was at 3-1 and 2-1.
Mm-hmm.
I want to take your action down a little bit. I'm giving you those numbers in metric. So what I want on the bass side is 2.7, and on the treble side I want 1.8. That's just an action that I've found works for 98% of people.
Okay.
So it's a good general action for going back and forth between picking and finger style. So we'll go to the back to do that. So what I will do is take your saddle out. So here's your saddle.
And is that a nylon saddle, you think? Some sort of polymer?
It seems like a lot of time they're using like a material called tusk, like
Okay.
TUSQ.
Okay, I've seen
So it's
that.
kind of
Tusk
like
nuts. Okay.
yeah, it's kind of like a fancy plastic.
Okay.
Tusk, or my Tusk people will be upset with me. If I were to make one, I make them out of raw bone blanks.
Gotcha.
I can do in terms of adjusting action is I can make a measurement here and here. The guitar is kind of like a big triangle, so the amount that I need to take off, or the adjustment that I want to make, I know I need to take twice that amount off of the saddle.
Okay.
So going all the way back to Pythagoras and kind of how the guitar is functioning, the frets are one plane face,
Okay.
the strings are one plane face, and my C squared,
I'm
the
picturing
triangle.
Donald Duck in Mathematic Land right now.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
So I'll turn this guy on, and what I'll do, give the light touch on this side. And then I'm making sure that I maintain flatness down here. I'll give this a little bit of... Top here follows the curvature of your fingerboard, and that's called your fingerboard radius.
Gotcha.
So you want that
Okay.
to be matched from the end of the board to the saddle.
Perfect.
We'll
Thank
put
you, sir.
this back in here,
Great.
and now we're on to restringing.
Oh boy. Do you have a particular brand of guitar string you like, and why do you like that?
I would say I used to be more all over the place, and it really depends on the type of guitar and the gauge of string. I'll jump around brands. So Diodario tends to be the most consistent. We also are a Diodario supplier, or we have
Dealer?
all Diodario, dealer
Okay.
in the shop here. But I like Diodarios for light and medium gauge phosphor bronze strings. Flatline strings, I like TIs and pyramids. Nylon strings, I like Severa's strings. So a lot of good options. For consistency across the board, Diodario seems to be the most consistent. But back to the Diodarios are color coded.
Yep.
Which is nice,
Yeah.
So for sorting out what strings. They also come in these double rolls, so it alleviates like these being up in knots and a pain in the ass to take out. So I like them for that. I'll run these in the sets of 2 that they come in. So
Okay.
notice the first thing I did was unwind them.
Okay. So you go and you go from bass down, and you do them in pairs.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep. And so another thing to comment on is like different people will tell you different things with start on the outer E's or start on the middle of the board. I'm noticing no sort of difference in the past a few thousand instruments I've touched. You know?
Okay.
So
We'll
in
take-
terms of
he's an
tensioning up the
expert.
neck, get the strings on there, tune it up. you
Okay.
know. So this is an important thing. A lot of people, I think, have this assumption that the bridge pin, the ball end of the string rests on the bridge pin like this.
That's what I thought.
So what we actually want to do is we want the ball end to rest on the bridge plate of the guitar. So it's going to be curled up. The slot is there just to ease that ball end up and have full contact on the bridge plate itself. And I'll show you what a bridge plate is. A good internal of a guitar. And this is the bridge plate right here.
Oh, okay.
So in terms of like the microphone of the instrument or how this is all working is we have energy being sent through the string into the saddle, into the bridge, to the top, into the bridge plate.
Okay,
And
and
I
this
want
is
the-
usually where like the glue, when I see these lift off, that's where the glue, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. No, totally. So what I want to have happen is I want this ball end, so I'm going to put a little curl in it here.
Okay.
That way it's going to help get away from catching on the bottom here and rest on the bridge pin like that. So if we were to able to see it on the inside of a guitar, it would be resting like that.
This is fantastic. This is the stuff people want to know.
All right, so we're going first string in. I push this down with an excess. I put that curl on the string. I make sure that my slot is facing towards the neck of the guitar. I push this all the way down, and then I pull the string all the way up. So it didn't catch right there. So a lot of, yep, and so what's gonna happen is if the ball end's caught on the bottom, I don't know if you've been restringing before and one of these just flies out and
Yeah.
shoots across the room. Similar steps, I do them all at the same time instead of doing string to string. So I put the curl on the end of the string, push this into the guitar, put the bridge pin in, pull that up, make sure that's nice and down, and I'll go ahead and do that on the rest of the strings here. Okay, so what I like doing, and I wouldn't necessarily say,
This is where it all goes wrong, buddy.
yeah. So what I like doing is a tapered amount of winds going up. So we don't need a knot up here, and I'll talk about it as I go. So the first string, the least number of winds is our thickest string, our low E here. I'm going to bring this up. I'm going to pull the string to full tension. So I'm not wasting any time with putting any sort of gap here. I don't have like one of the string winders on like a drill gun or something like that. So I'm going to the inside of the post. On this first string, I'm just going to do one wind. So I'm going to go around the post, come to the back here, run this through, pull it tight, twist it the opposite way.
Okay.
So notice something about this is that's my only string I do one wind on. The winds are going down from where I threaded the string. So this is helping in terms of maintaining break angle. If I had the winds going the opposite way, we start losing break angle and function of the nut itself. I'll put this in the right slot there. And you twist that up a couple times, you're in tune. So now notice I'm going to do the A string. Go into the inside of the post. I'm going to add a wind this time. So I'm going to go here. I'm pushing the winds down, threading the string through. So now I have two winds. The winds are below where I threaded it in. This time I'll go 3, and then I'll do 4, 4, 5. I'll pull this tight. So now we're onto the treble side. I'm going to pull this up. 1, 2, 3. Go up to the top here.
Just gonna make sure. Great.
All good. So the treble strings can get a little busier. So I just got to make sure I keep track of the wine. So I'm going to do 4 on this post right here.
Okay.
So 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to make sure I push the wines down. I don't want them to get jumbled up on top of each other. That's that cleanliness kind of detail that I'm looking for. And then I'll go 5 on our high heat. So inside of the post, 1, 2, 3, 5. And I will notice I'm pulling the string tight as I'm doing this.
Okay.
So if it goes loose, it turns into a mess. So
Then I lose all my tension.
yep, and then so what we'll do here, put a little tension on it. Another thing about this too is that I'm not wearing out the tuner excessively by doing a crazy amount or a drill gun winds and wearing out the gear in the back. Yeah. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and clip the strings. Now I don't break the string off inside of the post because I don't want it to slip back, but I do go right up to the post with the flat side of my pliers and clip it as close as possible.
Okay. Because
So-
you trust your wines.
Yep, absolutely. And like I said, most of the time, like tuning stability, I've noticed has more to do with the cut of the nut than the tuner itself. I mean, if the gear is blown, then the gear is blown. But this style of wines is it's not going to slip or anything like that. So on the wound strings, the grit of the wind will grab onto itself, and then on the treble strings, we have that extra number of winds than on the bass side. That holds it all together.
Fantastic.
So in terms of clipping, I will go right up to the string here. And I like clipping it close enough as to where you don't have a nib there that you could cut yourself on.
Okay.
Poke yourself,
Yeah.
you know? And this is kind of a fun thing. So Edward Victor Dick, who I apprenticed with and has been building guitars since the early 70s,
We're in
he
his
was
shop
around.
right now.
Yeah, we're in the shop that he founded. So initially, like when he started, there wasn't a really good standardized tuner. So he got used to tuning by ear using a tuning fork. So I have this tuning fork for an A, and I'll show this to you just because not a lot of people see how to tune with the tuning fork often. So I'll hit it right here. There's my A coming out. And then I will.
This is like magic and science. Wait, it's the Arthur C. Clarke quote that science so advanced it's indistinguishable from magic to me. He hit a metal rod and then made the guitar sound okay. Then he's gonna tune by fifths? No.
Another helpful tuning trick with tuning by ear is using strings in doubles, so you can hear when intervals are out. You know,
It gets
it's
wavy,
easier.
right?
Yeah. So you can hear between. So we're in tune.
All right, so now you're checking string distance between
Yeah,
the
so
frets.
now I'm measuring your action at the 12th fret. I'm going from the top of the 12th fret to the bottom of the string is what I'm looking for. So we had started off with 3.1 and 2.1. I've taken you down to 2.6 and 1.8. So it's point one off. We got to start all over, man.
All right.
Let's throw the guitar
You know what?
away.
Just smash it. It's a piece of shit.
Yeah, but you can see after, I'm explaining like how to measure and do things by the book, and then eventually your eye gets accustomed to seeing small gaps and things like that, and then you kind of know how to move with some flow to it.
And then for the people you're working with, do different players have different setups that they like, and they can talk to you about that?
Yeah, so I have general numbers for all styles of instruments that work 90 to 95% of the players that I'm doing work for. That extra 5%, 2% of people do require specialized setups, specialized specs, and stuff like that. So a lot of times when I'm taking an instrument in, I'll ask someone, are you are like a style of guitar like this? Are you a flat picker? Are you a finger style player? Do you play a little bit of both? Do you use a capo? How high up do you use the capo? How hard is your right hand? Can I watch you play for a little bit? Things like that, so I can customize it optimally for their hand and touch. Having something that you're not fighting against is really important. So even though I'm calling it a professional setup, it's absolutely appropriate for beginner musicians, and I would say most of the time, even stuff with major structural issues, we can absolutely get playing nice and easy for people. So it's absolutely worth it on any style of instrument. So the adjustments I made on your instrument today, I wouldn't be going about it any differently if it was a $100 instrument or a $5,000 instrument. It's all treated with the same respect, and trying to make it accommodating for the player.
How can people book your services?
You can come in through the walk in during our shop times. You can give me a call or reach out to me on Instagram or through my contact and schedule an appointment. But yeah, come in. I'm happy to give people a tour of the shop, talk about instrument making, instrument restoration. I'm a particular nerd of the history of lutherie and instrument making. So I love talking about this stuff with people. So anybody that wants to come in or has instruments, come by when you can.
What services do you offer?
I offer specialized historical restoration work, like traditional style repairs. I can make instruments, custom instruments under commission, acoustic guitars, any sort of Franco-Sicilian lutherie through flat top instruments. Classical guitars, and we also teach guitar building classes. I'm a teacher here at the school, and I teach 5 to 10 students a year in flat top making.
And what are you playing right now?
I'm just improvising.
What's the instrument, sorry?
Oh, the oud, the Arabic oud. So this is a Iraqi style Arabic oud.